What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the Fortnite Champion Series. After the heats yesterday, we find ourselves here at the summit, the Fortnite Champion Series Grand Finals. After today, one player in every region will be able to hold the Axe of Champions high. The hype is here. We are excited, and we cannot wait to get into things. If you're joining us at Party Royale, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having us. We're here to have a good time, watch some cool Fortnite action, and of course, don't forget to use your favorite emotes, throw the grenades around, purple, orange, whatever your favorite color is. We'll have a great time. With that being said, I'm your host, Zeke. Joining us here on the analyst desk, we got Shy Wager, we got Bala TW. Guys, I mean, the hype is so real right now.
I mean, I'm between hyped, excited, and every other amazing, awesome word because we've been watching along with these guys playing the FNCS solos for so many weeks, and right now, this weekend, today, it's the finale.
Yeah, it couldn't be more exciting because grand finals for FNCS always means that we get some very, very exciting competitive Fortnite action, and we're going to bring the energy, we're going to bring the fire, and I know these players are too.
Oh, man, of course, we are going to get into the show, but first, very quickly, do not forget, we are tuning in all things EU. We are going to take a break, and then later on, we'll be back to wrap up NA East on the day. With that being said, let's take a look at the format itself. Yesterday, we saw the Heats break down 100 players, but only the top 25 advanced, and now they find themselves here in the Grand Finals.
Yes, Heats, these were happening yesterday. Now it's the 100 best players all the way from the thousands, hundreds of thousands played, 6 final matches, 1 FNCS champion per region, and this is the format that breaks everything down.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar, you get placement, or you get points for placement, you get points for elimination. 14 points total for placing highest, for achieving that victory royale, and that will matter so much over all of everything, but you've got to find the balance. You've got to find some eliminations because that is kind of some guaranteed points every time you pick one up. And the placements, well, you got to see how it is. It's very difficult to actually accrue these in a competitive game.
That's right, man. 100 of the very best will clash and battle it out. Now, of course, what's on the line here? The Axe of Champions will be that trophy that they can take into game and let the others in the lobby recognize them as a champion, but also take a look at your prizing breakdown here. $80,000 for first place, and of course, everyone that has made it this far will walk away with something, which is awesome to see. And I mean, even if they were to place, say, last, you still have to recognize these are 100 of the best players in EU. Make sure to recognize them for their skill. Here is an overall breakdown of EU. $800,000 available there, and then NA East we will be back for later. And don't forget, we have other regions breaking down there as well, which we will take a look at in a moment. But real quick, guys, I gotta talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Batman. Genius comes in many forms. Whether you're dangerously funny, creating havoc with wild plants, or flooding the island with your best intentions, it often comes along with a companion, madness. Become everyone's nemesis with the Last Laugh bundle featuring the Joker, Poison Ivy, Midas Rex, matching cosmetics, and 1,000 V-Bucks. You can pre-order the bundle through your favorite retailers, and it will be available on November 17th. So definitely check out the blog for all the details. And if you can't wait for more DC characters, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and my personal favorite Batman will be back in the item shop for a limited time. Get their cosmetic sets before they disappear into the night. And of course, let's not forget Joyride has hit the game, and we will not be seeing vehicles in the competitive playlist, so just keep that in mind as we are watching. Now, guys, I did kind of touch on it just a moment ago. We do have those other regions that are facing off. We should probably check it with OCE and see how things are going.
Yeah, I think we should for sure because the competition over there was a preview of everybody else. These guys got the first taste of the Grand Finals action, and if you watched last night, it was certainly nice. And we got to award our first Axe of Champions.
Yep, the axe was given out all the way towards the winner, and this man's going to be having that pickaxe to use towards the entire next season. It's going to be awesome to see. The winner of OCE overall was, of course, Jinx, RNG, Jinxie Fishy, and total points of 75, the Oceanic champion. What a run that he had above the rest.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And this man was contested too. For yours unfamiliar with what that means off spawn when he dropped, there was somebody fighting him, which means that it's very difficult to do what he did. But 75 points. And something else to note about Jinx, this is a man of stature, somebody who has won the previous FNCS. So he was already holding on to that Axe of Champion. He gets to maintain going into this season.
Winners stay winning because this ball from second place all the way down to 10th, very familiar names. Refalse, Asfit, Rax, Worthy all the way up to second, Zore, Leia, Moose, Link at 7th, and then Fresh at 6th, who's playing so phenomenally over during the day. Had some help as well from chat, as well as Arab coaching him throughout the entire process. Past that, too, on the second place of Oceania, 11th down to 20th place. It is the same names we keep seeing, but look how close it was overall. Look at the prize money these guys got broken down. 40 points down to 36. Mounted holding 11th. RBK, I don't know, which is Volks holding down all the way to the 20th slot.
Such a close competition, and this is going to be a nice identifier here as we get ready for EU. I mean, watch these point thresholds. Look at how close that is. We will more than likely see this in EU unless someone decides to break away. With that being said, though, Asia also has a champion. Fram #1 holding down that #1 spot, 47 points. No victorials, but 11 elimination and an average placement of 25th. That in itself is a statement to be made, and now he will hold the Axe of Champions high.
But it was so close, Zeke. Look at the eliminations, 11 for him over 6 games. That is slightly under 2 elims. And you know what? It counts. Everything matters. Tiebreakers certainly do in this case. 3 people tied for points at first place. That is ridiculous. Unheard of. Haruhiko coming in second, and Peter Pan. Unfortunately, these guys fell with the tiebreaker of eliminations. Fram will win the Asia region.
Still, another tiebreaker back-to-back, 44 points, 4 ways through, from 3rd all the way down to 7th place. That is insane to see. Still, that story continues on the second page. Asia was so close, so competitive. And as you mentioned, Bala, every elimination did indeed matter. Once again, Rizart down to Riru from 11th to 13th place. They were tied. You go all the way down to 18th to 20th. Wildhawk, Bob, these guys were tied too, and it was their individual performance every game that stood out. So remember, every single game we watched today, every single play matters the most.
That's right, man. And this is something we're going to talk about for the whole time, right? Is every interaction matters. Every time 2 people square up, one of them will be eliminated, while the other is allowed to continue moving and continue earning those points, while the other that lost has to wait. They have to reset and come back into the game with a fresh mindset and hope to earn more points.
And these guys have been doing it all weekend long since Friday. They've been playing in these set lobbies, these very difficult games, and for some of them, they're done. They've already played it through, but for others, regions that we're looking forward to, EU up next. And these guys have such a competitive field. Look at the first list of qualified players, and that is just 1/5.
And they've gone through so many different hurdles. We had 4 heats in total, top 25s qualifying from each and every one, down to the final 100 players. These guys are at the top of their game, and they're going to be playing against other people who are used to winning. On this page alone, I'm looking at Scouts, Kezix, Seventor, Mongrel, big, insane, legendary names looking to get another title under their belts.
Reason was on that page too, the player who won Heat 4 against people like Letwick. Flois came out of Heat 1 with a dominant performance. We're going to be looking at him to see if he can maintain a good start out of the early game. Tayson, who had the first start in Heat 2 with the back-to-back victory royales, and we've talked about the format, how much that matters. His lead was almost insurmountable after only 2 games.
And whether you're watching in-game in Party Royale or anywhere online, just pick a name over here, follow it through, find a new favorite player, and follow your favorite old ones too, like Letchi, like Fasroki, XW2, who's an insane winner, winning back-to-back games through all stages of the competition. These guys are about to play some of the hardest games of their lives and are going to give us some of the best Fortnite we have ever watched.
And yesterday was literally like a little taste of that, right? And we've seen these pockets of people already setting their eyes on grand finals. Today will bring some of the best Fortnite we've ever seen. I mean, there's no way of knowing. Will someone break away and hold off strong? Will people go head to head and kind of pull each other back? And at the very end, someone will cross the finish line no way of knowing, guys. This will all unfold before our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke usually asks me the question, who do you think is going to win? I'm going to answer before you get to ask any one of these 100 players because they all deserve it 100% all the way up to this point. I'm serious. It's anyone's game. Every single person on all those pages for Europe are so good.
And I want to add one thing to that, too, because it might be anybody's game, but also think about the fact that one player after all of this, out of 100, is going to be walking away the winner, the champion. That is just mind-blowing to me.
Yesterday, we got to see the top 25 move on, and we thought about which 75 would fall. Now it's the 99 that will not make the cut. With that being said, though, let's take a look at a replay that has led us to this point.
Yeah. If you haven't joined us on the broadcast just yet, there was 4 heats to play through, and each of those had 100 players. Top 25 moved on from every single one of them. We're watching the winner of heat number 1, and we're highlighting him because he won in a surprising fashion, coming out from behind and dueling a lot of other top players, and he did it with style, winning a game with something like 5 eliminations and then taking the lead from there and being consistent all the way through. That's why Advise is certainly somebody to pay attention to.
Yeah, the name to remember is Wave Advise, especially anyone having Wave in front of their names. But just look at the way he broke down every game. It wasn't something under control for him at all times. It was always back against the wall, but always found a way through to win every single time.
And he was dueling against players like Clement, who are going to be here today. But moving on into Heat 2, if you missed that one, this was electric. This was fantastic. We already talked about Tayson's back-to-back, but he did it again with style, too. That's why we have to keep an eye on him going into this. And there's some interesting things about him. We saw a sneak peek about that landing spot, and that's where our previous FNCS Invitational Solos champion came from. His duo partner, Janice.
And Janice is playing today too, so these guys will have to face off against each other at the same drop spot in the same end games, and it's unpredictable as to what will actually end up breaking down.
There's another player too in that heat. It was Kinzel. They ended up dueling. Also somebody who came out of Steamy Stack, so we'll have to keep that in mind. But moving into Heat 3, this is something that caught a lot of people by surprise. Why? Because Xweez, while he has been pretty consistent overall, his placements in FNCS and other tournaments like that, nobody expected what he did throughout the qualifiers. Nobody expected a second place on day 3, into a first place on day 4, into a first place in the heat yesterday.
The most surprising performance by far, absolutely, and the most impressive in style. XP's always puts himself into positions where he can show his flair, show his aim, and give us a good insight to what shots he likes to take. All these shots always culminate to a win. Just look how fast he is past edits, landing the bullets that he needs to land to be able to get eliminations and then win games close range, 4 people back to back, and he did this in multiple games.
And that's not all. While Xweez might have dominated his heats, there's still one more. To find the last 25 players, we had to go through one of the most difficult ones overall. There was players like Mongrel in the next heat. There was players like Reason, and those two have been going back-to-back against each other for quite some time, starting from the day 1 3 weeks ago. But Reason showed up again, and even though they dueled and took first and second in this heat, Reason seemed to come out far and ahead, the champion of that heat. And for one reason, I think, no pun intended, the Holly Hedges uncontested drop spot.
Yeah, with no one fighting you down early game, you have a huge advantage on playing the rest of your game out, going for positions, going for wins. That being said, though, Reason and Mongrel are going to be able to battle it out once again here today in these grand finals, and it's the final round for these guys to wrap up their story.
And the important thing to note from Reason, he did win back-to-back in heat number 4 yesterday against players like Letwick, who had even Kit Shockwave Launcher to try to put him down. He does not care and will go for the biggest streak of 2 back-to-back games in terms of eliminations and wins. So that total amount of points, ridiculous from Reason. We'll have to see if he's in form today.
That's the biggest question across the board, right? Who is in form? A lot of these players, they already know the field. They've already scouted each other out, and just like we've done our research, they have too. Now the question is, who will hold strong and who will walk away the champion? With that being said, guys, it is time to get into the first game of the day here in EU. So let's get ready to toss it over to our casters. We've got Clay Staling and Sundown to take us through all the action. Gentlemen, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jonesies, Bonesies, he's, she's, theys, and thems, welcome to the first game of the FNCS Grand Finals in EU, and I hope you got your popcorn ready, whether it's literally or the emote in Party Royale, because this game is about to be a blast.
I am ready for seeing all the action unfold. I hope everybody's got their favorite emote out, whether it be take a seat, whether they're with their glow sticks out raving. I'm ready. I know you're ready, Sundown. It's going to be amazing.
Enough from us. Let's take us into game number one. The analyst desk set it up so well. Shout outs to Zeke, Bala, and Showager. But now we're into match number one. This is it. 6 games to decide who will walk away with that Axe of Champions. Who will be the top player in arguably the most competitive region in Fortnite. It does have the most participants, and there's $800,000 up for grabs here, and here's the initial drop spot.
And it looks like everyone's sticking true to where they planned on dropping. We have 3 players in Steamy. We've got, I think, only 1 or 2 players there in Caddy Corner, the 4 in Lazy Lake that we've seen time and time and again from Europe. And, of course, we've got Rezon and Holly Hedges, and it seems like he may be alone.
And one of the best comments I think I saw coming out is, wow, everyone is really scared of Rezon. And if you look at some of those early game drop spots, both in heats and I'm assuming now in the grand finals, everyone stays really far away from him. And you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner on the map. Not a single triangle remotely close to him representing another player. That's because he's done such a good job over the course of the entirety of this tournament to stake out the claim, and then also getting a nice little elite chest right there, granting him the legendary burst AR, and he's set to go now. He can begin his rotation and head to center zone. He has those 6 crash pads, which we've seen him execute on so well, and he's basically set to now just farm the materials he needs and transition into the mid game. However, we've seen him go aggressive time and time again with this similar loadout, as now we swing on over.
And you saw how careful he was being. He wasn't taking a chance looting that chest. He didn't want anything to go wrong in game number 1, because that sets the pace of your games going forward. Whether you get out to a head start or whether you get to climb your way back from an unfortunate off-spawn elimination. However, Hen, on the other side of it, does have players nearby. Loadout not as great as what we just saw on Rezon, but someone that also did very well in the qualifiers. Came out, and I believe, we got a 2nd place there in one of the days. He's got that sniper rifle territory, and he's looking. He's peppered up. He's looking for an elimination. I think he's going to be able to catch this play off guard. Snipe's going to come through. He's going to wait, and he does. Ardent's going to go down. Elimination comes over for him.
Brilliantly done there by Hen to set up that ambush on the side. We've talked about it time and time again, how you need to be careful, but in the early game in particular, it's so hard to really know where your opponents are, keeping track of them. If somebody does get that first shot down and you're not able to react, it can be game ending. And going out there in 96, it's so hard, a 0-point game, and now you have to sit back and watch everyone else have fun while you're sitting there waiting for the next game. As now we hop on board, and Candy, who's going to be in the exact same situation as Milan, turns that one around. And someone who's really been playing a lot better as of late, Clay.
He has indeed, and I believe we have 2 Milans here in this grand final. So we've got a Loft Milan and Normal Milan, but both of them have been playing very, very well and have consistently been making it into that top 25. It seems like almost every single qualifier. So it's really good to see consistency being rewarded, especially with the way the format is. The format rewards those high-placing, high-consistent games. So if you're able to get to top 15, top 25, top 10 every single game, you're going to start to make your way to the top of the leaderboard.
And that's what the goal is for the end. We talked about so much yesterday how it's, hey, top 25 is all that matters. Well, here, everyone wants to be number 1. You have to walk away with that top spot. It's a solos competition if you want the grand prize in the Axe of Champions and all the clout that comes with saying, hey, I am the best player in my region after the weeks of qualifiers and then coming down to this. And Mr. X, who had a beautiful run yesterday to even get him here. The miracle back-to-back-to-back eliminations, but now under pressure from Rifle, going to get in directly on top of him, but sticking straight to the AR spray. He didn't have a shotgun. That's what we talk about. Those early game fights, he just had the assault rifle and the SMG opting to stick with the AR, and I think that might have been the wrong call, as the SMG could have offered him slightly more damage in that situation, but Rifle comes through and punishes it.
And it was such a close call. That Siphon was just the difference maker once that elimination came through. You see now on another engagement, it's between Wolfies and Maestro. Maestro running off this side on the front foot. The pedal is down. Maestro wants to just continue to push down. Shots go through. He's going to break through the wall. And Wolfies is going to go down.
That was a huge pickup there from Maestro Wolfies, who was the second place finisher in the duos of the World Cup. We've seen him play so aggressively, the young player from the UK, but when he's put on the back foot, it can be a little bit challenging there. Maestro did come through, got dropped down to 48 HP, but don't forget, in arena and tournament settings, there is that siphon enabled. That means when you eliminate an opponent, you will get either 50 HP or 50 shield back, depending on which one you end up needing. It prioritizes health first, and then they will also drop all of their materials, all of their loot, and an additional 150 materials, so an extra 15 builds that you can go over and sweep up. That ends up being really key, particularly in the mid and the late game now, as we're on board here with a Ventex who takes 2 really big shots and is put on the back foot.
He is, but luckily enough for him, Crash does not have any shield pop. Now, it's not going to be as good as he is going to be finding time to get those minis in that big shield pop. And Inte over there needs to find an aggressive push into the box and needs to catch him off guard. If Ventex is not able to get this medkit off, this does not look well for them. But it seems like the medkit will be popped, so he does get back to fighting HP. Under 50 HP is enough to withstand some shots. As Crash is now on the back foot, that's exactly what he needed to do. He needed to turn that defense that he was waiting on into that offensive moment. And now Krez is in a very bad situation. 6 builds remaining. No HP to really work with. He's going to have to hit a really big charge shot there. Dana coming through, not going to connect on these shots. He goes in the box, but Krez hits the shot, and that's another elimination for him.
And you talked about it. He needed to hit that big charge shot, holding it up and punishing the player. And particularly when you see 2 players box to box fighting with charged shotguns, it's really difficult if you're not able to get that finishing blow right away, like No Luck Nebby does there, finding Kira to close out the fight, because you can have—
Oh, Nebby, what? Don't even forget my point there. Nebby showing the power of the hunting rifle, showing up, catching 2 players on the outside. However, look in the bottom right-hand corner. A 3rd player is now rotating by. So can Nebby get all of these resources and get out without getting engaged on? But those are 2 monstrous shots. He's got to feel confident there, and definitely not living up to his name. Plenty of luck going on.
And you took the words from my mouth. Nebby with an amazing aim there, just getting what he needed to get started. However, someone who is not having amazing luck is Janus right now. 134 effective HP. It means he fought either off spawn on rotation. Now he is going into the orchard, which does allow these campfires and the apples that drop that give you 5 HP per consume. So he's going to be in a good spot. He's able to really farm up. But Janus drops Steamy stacks. And look at his medal count. It was only 97. Amount of Steamy with only 97 medal is not what he's used to, and this is definitely impacting his game plan.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough there. Also, tons of players will know where he is, stoking that campfire, putting off the smoke signal. You can see him, those apples dropping, but instead opting to burn the extra wood. Good trade-off there and good awareness of where he was on the map. However, you do see Spen is lurking and trying to catch out the FNCS Invitational winner here. Janus over on the side, and he does. He gets him real quick. That's the problem. Again, we talk about it, the hunting rifle on the side. If you're not ready for it, it can be a game ender right there. You get caught out farming. And honestly, I think that's a little bit on Janus there. You don't want to be on the edge of the zone and caught gaining materials. Like, yes, you did just get in. You can feel safe. You're back up at that 100 health, 100 shield threshold, but you have to know other players are rotating from that side and going to be behind you, and Spen is actually going to get harassed there as he tries to rotate out. We're going to hop on over to a 3-way fight going on over here.
Oh, and now already down to just 2 players. Controller getting into the boxes and getting the shots, picking up 2 eliminations back to back. Flecken gonna fall there, and these are what you need to do in solos. You need to get into the box and you need to finish the eliminations quickly, because like we saw, if you come and you fight and you box fight and you build fight, and more people are going to come and they're going to realize that, and you are going to fall. So very good play there from Controller.
And so far, it's been the story of the third party. You hear players talk about it all the time, whether it's your friend or your favorite streamer, that third party, is the extra player who comes in. So if you're taking a 1v1 and then somebody else rotating by says, oh, you guys are preoccupied. First we saw Nebby picking up the 2 shots there, and then Controller closing it out with that epic tactical shotgun. Going to be on board here with Ovation Orion. We've seen him pull off a number of plays, but again, really good at kind of those ambush-style tactics, as you can see here, trying to set up a little bit on this player who's rotating in front of him. You can see the map in the bottom right-hand corner. That is the next storm zone revealed, so you can see we're pulling a little bit central. We're just kind of south of the authority, or just over the authority, with a little bit of a southwestern side there. So most of the players will have time. The Slurpy Swamp players will have tons of priority, and Storm Surge has just turned on, which is something you might not be familiar with if you're watching there. So Storm Surge is actually on in every game, but is only activated when you're above a certain number of players left. That number of players for the third zone is 70. So with 83 players currently left, 13 will be impacted. What it does is those who haven't done enough damage to the opposing players will then take 25 damage every 10 seconds. It's to try and encourage a little bit of active play, which we see here from Orion taking out Queasy, who's going to be queasy about that, just being game-ended right there before the rotation occurs, not picking up any points in that match.
And what a smart play. He went in different angles and didn't just crash pad off the top, because he knew Queasy would have been expecting that, and found an angle, got in the box, got the elimination. That also, with Storm Surge, it causes people to make plays like that. Arion may have decided that, you know what, a couple tags were good, I'm good to go, move on. He's put him pretty high up in the Storm Surge, but he didn't want to take the chance. He wanted to make sure he was above at least 100 damage on the threshold. So he decided, I got to go in, I got to get in the box, because when Storm Surge starts hitting you, nobody's going to let you shoot them. No one's going to let you even look at them. They're going to be sitting in their boxes. They're going to sit there and wait and not even open windows, not even make any movements, because they know, hey, that guy's getting hit by a big purple lightning bolt. We can't attack him. Well, all of a sudden Phoenix is actually going in, but maybe a little bit of a misplay as he gets eliminated.
Gets punished right away, and Tigwe has everything you could possibly want for a box fight there. I mean, just look at the loadout, having the epic tactical shotgun, the epic burst AR, crash pads, plenty of shields. So Phoenix might have felt a little pressure to go in and create some space, but Tigwe punishing very succinctly there, as now we swing on board. Milan, Seventor, Kiko, and Anas all directly on top of each other. They become legends. Anas has played incredibly well. Clement also joining in on the party, and this is what we talk about, that Storm Surge. All the players who below, Anas being one of them, are going to be forced to find tags. That damage is going to start coming through. He's going to need to convert on it, and he converts brilliantly there, picking up Supremacy's Clement in number 1 elimination, and also closing in on that first placement threshold, Clay.
It was such a beautiful play by Anas, because he knew Clement had that bush. So he said, you know what, he's going to go for the pickaxe. I'm just going to go ahead and edit that wall out so he can get the initial shot, and that got him the elimination. That initial shot there gave him the damage just to follow up with another tack shot, and with that rare tactical shotgun, it does a lot of damage if you're able to hit all the pellets, and that's exactly what he did. Now, on his way, he got the pepper placement threshold, just came through as well, and now he's moving in. He's got a very great loadout to secure himself a very good placement here, and we know Anas is very, very capable, like you talked about, and he's already stalking another player. He's looking to take down AX Controller.
Yeah, and that's Controller 007 from the FNCS Invitational. We saw him have a number of really solid performances. Still need 3 players to go down from that Storm Surge threshold, but Anas just trying to kind of follow in this rotation path, get as close to center of zone. So if you're kind of new to watching competitive Fortnite, joining for the first time in Party Royale or Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or WatchFortnite.com, what do you care about as you're watching this game, as Anas will take it down, or what are you looking for? Mongrel and Thomas HD also picking up eliminations to put us below the Storm Surge threshold. The first thing is whether or not opponents are picking up, people are picking up eliminations. You can see that to the right of the player's name, that's right next to kind of the little mark there. And that will represent 1 point every single time as they go through. Additionally, you're worried about them picking up placement points. In this format, the first one occurs after 25 players have gone down, then the next one occurs after 50 players have gone down, then it's every 10 and 5 players. So when somebody ends up falling in 41st or 31st or 26th, that's a huge changeover. But now, during the middle part of the game, as everyone's rotating through, what they're looking to do is establish space for themselves, make sure they're safe, and then find tags so they're not threatened by that storm surge that we were talking about ahead of time. As now we hop on board here with MCSX Squeezy, who has placed top 25 in 78% of his games this FNCS, best in the EU, and that's something to contrast with the fact that he also plays really aggressive in the early and the mid game. If he gets caught out and he's able to convert, he's had some of the highest elimination totals throughout the entirety of the FNCS, Clyde.
And I was going to say, I'm surprised he's not going into this player's box that's literally just fishing in front of him. Someone else tried it, and he's waiting. You can tell he wants to get into this box. As soon as he sees that player start to make moves into the other box, or maybe he finds out exactly where they are, he wants to go in. But he's got Letwick right above him, so you can tell he's being a little bit more cautious this time around. In the heat and the qualifiers, he knew he had a little bit of leeway after that great performance that he had. He was able to play a little bit more aggressive and still get top 25, which is insanely impressive. Now, the biggest impact of the game right now is going to be this Kit Shockwave launcher in Thomas HD's inventory. He's already got an elimination because of it. He's also already near the next zone. He doesn't have to rotate very far, which is really good for him because he only has 94 materials.
He only has 94 materials, and he's right by the priority on high zone. This is the 4th zone, which means it's the last safe zone that's completely inside the current safe zone. After that, the 5th one will be the half in, half out, which kind of signals the transition into the end game as Thomas helps end Sebi's game there. He's going to be sent back and have to queue up after that, and Thomas hits him with a favorite emote. Hey, if you got that emote and you're in Party Royale, mimic it right now. Let Thomas know you're with him and sending him the aid, because he has a really good shot to ride this game out with where he's positioned, because after the 4th zone, you don't want to head super central. So all of a sudden, if that half in, half out zone pulls to the south and is on this high ground, and he has all the shockwave launcher plus a launch pad plus the mythic charge shotgun, it's going to be really difficult to force him out of a priority position. He's going to be somebody to watch over the course of this game who's going to impact the other players around him.
And he's already doing that just with his AR. He impacted Sebi. He's going to take down passive. And this is very, very good for him because he doesn't have to go too aggressive to get these eliminations. They're kind of being handed to him here as he's just taking a grasp of his surroundings, looking at every possible angle and getting eliminations. And speaking of that, Mr. Savage going to pick up an elimination there onto for Strokey.
Yeah, and you can see that action kind of being driven as players are forced to rotate in and start to get priority position, because it's not only just about being safe here, it's about establishing yourself for the next rotation, because that half in, half out is so important in terms of priority. But right now, Reason is 5 below the damage threshold. So once this zone clears, he'll start ticking. You want to keep an eye on the top left and then the bottom right-hand corner. That number will need to drop down to 50 players before Storm Surge turns off. And if anybody we're watching is below the threshold, they'll start taking that 25 damage every 10 seconds. And Reason just able to get himself above it with a nice tag there, and he's starting to get aggressive. We talk about the utility of the crash pads. We saw it in the package beforehand in Ball and Child. Talked about how good he can be aggressive on the low ground, and he gets Heatsy there, which is a huge elimination as well, because he pulled that half in, half out zone we talked about. Everyone who banked on it being up on the high ground saying, hey, if it pulls up here, I can win the game. Well, they were wrong. It pulled away from them, and they'll be the ones who have to rotate as we hit top 50, meaning Storm Surge turns off, second round of placement points goes through, and everyone is going to be rotating now.
And you saw Savage just waiting with that edit open. He was looking for any possible angle to pick up an elimination. Lois as well. He's kind of fashioned himself a little bit of a base here that's got these pyramids edited in a nice way so we can see down on players rotating. And this is where you want to be. If you do pull half in, half out, you want to be looking for players. You don't want to be exposed, because obviously that you could get sniped like Flois might do here. Some people, Mongrel picks up an elimination as well, so he's still here in this game and still fighting as well. As Flois is trying to snipe somebody out of the sky and was not able to hit it, but a valiant effort.
Valiant effort, but just a little wide. Might have given him a haircut, but not going to connect. No Storm Surge tags in play there as we see Kami pick up a huge Elim. Flo's trying to get involved here, finds the first tack shot, gets the second onto Vadil, who had picked up Savage. So Savage, again, going down early, only picking up an Elim and the 2 placement thresholds. 3 points for him there. As we continue through, you can see Flois and Scribs still in. Keelix as well. Skype, one of the now veterans, and they call them boomers in the lobby. 3 players in EU are 20 years old, and that is the oldest players who are in the match. But Skype has been around and qualified for nearly every one of these finals. But we're hopping on board here with Quartz Froggy, who had an absurd, just absolutely gross run in heat number 2 to qualify himself. Pushed himself, I believe it was I think it was like 19 or 20 points in the final game to get here, but so far quiet on the day. No eliminations, but a decent loadout as we now transition into those fully moving zones, which means all the safe zones are outside, completely away from the current one, and everyone is going to have to move if they want to avoid that storm damage.
And luckily for him, it seems like it's pulling towards him, so he doesn't have to invest those crash pads right away. He can look for eliminations, as you see sitting in the code, allows him that opportunity to find these rotations as well. You see just bouncing away through the crash pads, doesn't have to worry about it. Squeeze is going to fall there in the feed. That's an important one to note there, because we talked about it, we hyped him up, falling down before that 40th placement threshold as well. He's not going to end on a lot of points. The question is, how many points can Froggy end up on? How many points can the rest of the lobby end up on as this game continues to go on? We see Kiriachi, we see Mongrel, we see Letwick there in your screen as well, and Froggy looks to have taken high ground with that. The shots go through. He's going to get that player down to low HP. It's Cammy going down. What a huge pickup there by Froggy, but he's not done yet. There's another player on the other side. So he does disengage, so he does have mats to build around with and to just drop down layers if he wants to. It seems like he's content on focusing around high ground.
Yeah, and Benji and Hen also picking up a pair of Elims there in the feed as we close in on the next placement threshold. It'll be top 30, and then every 5 players going down. Storm Surge will also turn off his top 30, and we're closing in on it. There it is. Scouts picking up a pair to make sure he gets there. That's ADN and Diablo, who we saw yesterday going down. Thomas also goes down, and then Become Legends Rifle picks up Benji Fishy. Deceptos ends up getting Skype as well going down there. Lecce picking up Styler, but we're still on board here with Quartz Froggy, and we saw how much work he can do on the mid-ground tarp here, and he's continuing to run through with that charge shotgun, picks up Scouts as well, and we're in through another placement threshold. So this is what happens as we start getting in the moving circles. All the action for, so keep an eye. Flois all the way up on the high ground. Kiko has priority on the low ground, and then everyone else is the tarp in between, but Hen and Reason are still up on the mid-tarp.
I think Flois was able to pick up that shockwave launcher from what it looked like. He may have used a crash pad to take it, but Mongrel, I believe, going to fall there on the backside. Rezon still in this game, getting eliminations. Hid, thing on 4. Crash pad will come out here for Hid. He does have a lot of materials left. Carrot picking up 3 eliminations there on the backside. As shots come through onto Hid, he is going to be able to block it off, and the capitalization there on the Snazy will be good as he realized already losing HP. Kensel going to take down a player there as well. Anas going to fall. Lois does have what it seems like a crash pad to maintain high ground, but Bad Sniper coming up. Decepto's coming up as well. Everybody is coming up for high ground. Rezon just trying to make it through.
And everyone pushing for the high ground right now, but not necessarily paying attention to what's going down the low ground where people are cleaning up on eliminations. You have Flois in your top right, Froggy in your bottom right, everyone else on the wide. You can see Flois is up on that ultimate high ground. Deceptos in hand down on that low ground with Reason just above them. Froggy waiting for his opportunity, but keep an eye on the number of builds because we're getting down to the final one. Flois going to pick up an elimination there, and he's doing a really good job at just maintaining that high ground control as we're closing in on our top 5. One more player will go down, and then it's all about getting to the top 3. Boom, we have it. Letwick, Bad Sniper, Froggy, Hen, and Flois, top 5 in game number 1.
And Flois looking to close it out 4 eliminations, but Froggy down below, you cannot count him out yet. He is right there. If he takes down Flois from below, that'll be so huge for him because he will get that shockwave launcher, get that mat refresh. Letwick's very, very low. More than likely going to be edited down. The shots come through, but no, Flois going to be one to take him down. Froggy gets down Hid. In the meantime, 1v1, Froggy versus Flois. The shockwave launcher up above. Froggy trying to dodge him. Flois sending him down. He's trying to, but he's running out of mats. 15 builds remaining, and Froggy does not look like he's stopping anytime soon. Going out in the zone, taking some damage. Going to shockwave himself down. Little Metro classic. Shotgun does come through. The shockwave is going to send him flying. Shots come through. Flois is going to get the beam, and he takes down Froggy for the victory royale.
Really, really good job from Flois executing on the top-down push with the mythic weaponry, but more importantly, showing the versatility of that shockwave launcher, launching himself down and then finding a gap to launch the opponent out, tracking him, and picking it up with the AR. Match number 1 is done. Fury Flois taking home the victory royale, but we'll see where the leaderboard shakes out. We're going to toss it back on over to Zeke, Shio, and Balo.
Man, a strong start here in EU, really coming out with a nice flow. Flois finding himself the victory royale. Guys, this final fight between Froggy and Flois, both players walk into that 1v1 with 5 eliminations. The elim and the victory royale is going to be that 4-point swing. This is gonna be a good tone setting for the rest of the competition.
We saw it in every region, right? 1 point matters, and that's a 4-point difference for that win and the elim. The coolest thing, though, to me was the versatility for Flois and how he was playing every single engagement differently and using his entire kit to be able to hold first overall in Europe right now. 6 eliminations, 20 points, and that victory royale.
Yeah, but there's also other people lurking near too, and with only the first game, don't forget there's 6. People are starting to establish themselves. I see Hen in 3rd place right now with 15 points, a sign that he could actually be on that hot streak. Hen, a very hot and cold player. Letwick, though, played significantly well yesterday, and he's there again in towards the top placements, and also with a couple elims to put himself in 4th place, but Kinzel too. And then the rest of this, I think, is kind of maybe a little different than what we might expect in towards the end of the day. You have Carry, you had Desistos, you had a Nas. I mean, there are some of these guys who have the potential to win for sure, but I don't know if that's quite it yet.
Yeah, I think at the top, I mean, obviously this is such a strong start. 20 points for Flois. Now, he's off the line, but he needs to take that next step and turn this into a full-on sprint toward the end. Is this the momentum he needs to do this, though?
Yeah, I mean, for all the people over here, that's the same kind of question, right? And if you haven't seen the standings leaderboard before, the eliminations are the total overall over the 6 games we're playing, as well as the points. And that's a combination of the placement and elims these guys have. So Lecce got 5 points of placement that game in 22nd place, and 2 eliminations. That's 1 point each. But for these guys, they're kind of sitting at 30th place. They don't have to go for a top 25 anymore. No one has to go for top 50. Everyone here is focused on that win, and they're just slightly behind. Still, though, really hot off the gate.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that people have to figure out on this first game. There are a lot of things and changes to what people might have been expecting. The plan, Zeke, you talked earlier about how these guys are all starting to do their research and whatnot. It shifts a little bit in grand finals. People start to make decisions and play with the mind a little bit of each other to, force things that you might not be comfortable with.
A lot of that is going to dictate that drop spot, right? And how that could, I mean, we're talking about 100 of the very best in the world. If I'm going somewhere and my peer is going somewhere that I'm used to playing with and against, that is going to dictate my play and theirs.
I mean, it always starts from the early game, right? Just in general, the entire tournament, from game number 1, your mentality is set in if you do well, if you do bad, and now everyone has different expectations. If you're like Flois, you're at the top spot. You guys mentioned it. Now it's a game of endurance, of holding it and not faltering when things go bad.
And in the grand finals, we have seen tournament after tournament. Being uncontested increases your chances of winning tournaments by tenfold, if not more than that. So being uncontested means you have nobody landing with you. You might be familiar with landing in a hot spot. You don't want to be doing that in grand finals or in set lobbies at all.
Yeah, the opposite of that is contested when someone is there. And Mr. Savage and Noah Riley are side by side at the yacht on the northern side of the map. 2 other big names all the way at Slippery Swamp, Kiriachi and then Benji Fishy.
Noah Riley was not supposed to go to the yacht with Mr. Savage. Mr. Savage had thought that he had done enough to force nobody to land with him throughout the heats. But you know what changes now for Benji is that Noah was going to be landing in the same main building. And of course, Noah did not want to do that challenge. One of the best players in the world at off-spawn fighting did not want to challenge Benji whatsoever. He'll leave what success he had throughout the qualifiers to end up going against Mr. Savage?
I mean, now it's going to be even harder, I think, for Noah Riley all the way up at the yacht. For Benji, even freer. But how did that look in game number 1, right? We're talking about these names, and we missed one of the biggest ones from the first game, Flois, who ended up getting the Shockwave loot. Didn't start with it, though. He was at the Orchard.
And a big difference from what we see for Flo is because usually it is the Shockwave loot that he's going for in the early game. That's why he got to this spot, but it doesn't matter. He'll grab it anyways, and he's even contested the Orchard. So all I said, Zeke, about being contested, reducing your chances of winning in grand finals kind of shifts when you see what Flois just did, and it doesn't matter where you land. You could always stumble across Kit's Shockwave launcher.
And this is kind of like talking about the quality of the players we're seeing, right? Like, yes, of course, we have mythic items to play around, but for someone like Flois, it's like if he's going to walk up and he's going to take a fight and eliminate you, and that loot's just going to be put in his hands, it's like, okay, I'm already good. I'm already at a 10. You're just giving me that loot and now making me an 11.
Yeah, and also to think about other people who usually have that opportunity to make it through. There was a lot of the big names. I mean, Janus fell off spawn, which you did not expect for him landing at Steamy Stacks with 2 players who play kind of passively in that. He got sniped. There was also a number of different people who fell in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing and the number one word for all these players right now is momentum, right? Flois finding that Shockwave launcher gives them a bunch. Janus getting taken out, as Bala just mentioned, stops the momentum overall, right? So in game number 2, these guys have to find a way to rev their engines faster and then get ahead of everyone else with momentum.
Oh, man, a lot of momentum here to start the day. Now, guys, I do want to continue, but I'm getting word the games are ready. So let's get ready to hop into game number 2 here of the Fortnite Champion Series in Europe. Let's see if the action continues. Sundown, Clay, let's send it back your way.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Bala. And I mean, I'm just so excited to see, because I'm a personal fan, or like I'm a advocate for the fact that game 1 is a nice way to set the tone, but you really get an idea of how the leaderboard and how the lobbies are going to play after game 2, because particularly with solos, it's about consistency and who's able to turn over a performance from one game to the next and continue it rolling. And you're really able to see that going down in the second match.
And into the third as well. If you're able to bounce back into that third and you really, really submit yourself at the top, you got a chance in that 4th, 5th, and 6th game to really turn online. Benji, somebody who definitely needs to turn online, but Savage is going to go down to Noah Riley in the feed. So the contestation happened, and Savage unfortunately falling. Looks like Benji is trying to take down Kiriachi in the time being.
Yeah, Benji trying to set up one of those ambushes here on the side. You can see him trying to pick up Kiriachi as he's going right for those slurp jugs. He is going to find the initial burst shots. They're opting not to use that sniper rifle and instead closing the gap on him as fast as possible. We'll see if he's able to get it. White Tags coming through, using the tac shotgun and the high rate of fire to push through the box. And well done, Benji. We talked about the contestant over there, and he says, 0 out of 10 for the effort. The Russian judge doesn't even give him a point. Benji taking it down there, and that's 2 elims right off of the start for him there. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the 2 most contested areas are Rig and Salty Springs, each with 5+ players right now. So a lot of space being pushed out, and it's interesting to see 5 players in Salty. I mean, effectively, you're all taking one house of loot and saying, I hope this is enough.
Yeah, I don't know why 5 players are there. And I think it has to do something with Rezon. He scared everybody away from Holly, Hedges, anybody that normally landed in that path. I said, no, I'm just going to go try my chance at Salty there. As we are now over to the Fortia, this is Mongrel, and he's been dropping here for a while. We know that. But he does not have Ocean's Burst AR and Ocean's Bottomless Chug Jug. Someone else may have snagged it from him, and with his aim and with what he can do with it, that Mythic Burst AR is so, so good here from him. But it looks like he's not going to need it now, as he's going to get some tags going into this fight. That player going to have to back out. Mongrel, though, not going to let him do it. He's got to be careful. He is running out of AR ammo, but he says, you know what? Who needs an AR? I got a shotgun and a crash pad. I'm going into the box. He is going to miss the jump a little bit, almost deploying a crash pad there, but the continued pressure that he's keeping up is trying to keep this player from going any higher, and it's Smudge just trying to get away. He's got a little sliver of HP, but Mongrel going to get in the box and do that Mongrel classic and get the elimination.
And he had to resolve that fight right away, because even picking that up with the additional match drop now only has 52 materials. And while he is in the zone, since it did pull towards that south side, he's going to need to find it. And with so many other players around this area, it's going to be really hard to max out quickly. But now let's hop on board with our match number 1 winner. As you can see, the format in the right-hand side, each elimination being worth a point. You can see once you get into that top 10, you'll have 8 placement points going through, all the way up to 14 for first. Then you can see 11th through 15th is 7, 16th through 20th is 6. It's the intervals of 5, then the intervals of 10, and of course, you get that first placement point after the first 25 players have gone down. So still plenty of players who need to drop here, which generally is a little slower from EU. You'll typically see a little more aggression going on. However, as you get further and further on into tournaments, the stakes and the players become that much more difficult to fight against, and it's really hard to confidently take an early fight, as we have Rax and the Costa Rican Sebi in a battle over here.
Ooh, and Rax on the back foot already. Now, this is that weather station just above Caddy. Sebi going in. The shots are going to go through. He's going to get the initial damage, and he's going to follow up with the AR. The crouch spam, and it's going to pay off for him. The elimination comes through, but now the question posed for Sebi is, can he go get Kit's loot? Can he go get the shockwave launcher and that charged shotgun, or will he settle for some of the vault loot?
And generally, that's the goal. It's to go through, get whatever you can from the weather station, resolve a fight there, and then head down and hopefully pick up the remnants of whatever happened at Caddy Corner. But now we're going to swing on over to Authority, where we have Letwick. We're in match number 1. He was able to steal away that mythic glider grapple gun and just kind of rotate out. But now, match number 2, you can see Hardfind over on the side, and Hardfind looking to set up a trap and a bait. And we've seen this before a number of times, particularly around that vault area, where there are some areas you can't build. Players look to have just an immediate drop, but Letwick is set up really well in terms of his close quarters combat. Just having that epic SMG as well as the tactical shotgun and a legendary pistol means he has 3 really high rate of fire weapons that give him plenty of abilities to just spam and pressure Hardfind, who's going to be looking for an ambush here in a second. But right now, both players just farming up.
And it seems like they're respecting each other's areas of this Authority. They kind of know, hey, he's going to be over here. I can tell by how he's looted. I know Letwick's going to be in this side because I know how he looted from Hardfind's perspective. But what's concerning about this is the players that are around. Carrot is there as well. You got 2 other players on the side. But Letwick is playing this very well. He's hitting some things, and then he's standing still. Because that's how the henchmen act. They walk around. Sometimes they'll hit stuff that's in their way, and then they'll stand still as you see one moving there. On the other side, we've got Wolfies, who's in a fight against some Marauders. Hopefully he's able to get out of those. The Marauders are very, very potent. They shoot you, they throw stakes at you, and they just will try to eliminate you at all costs. And they've got very, very good aim, especially with that hunting rifle there in the inventory of the Deadeye Marauder. Wolfies is pretty low, but he's got Ardent pretty low as well, 150 HP. Now the Marauders are coming in here. The third party this fight. Sometimes the third party does not always have to be an actual player. It can be the AI. This is really good for Wolfies. He's allowing the Marauders to go after this player and go after him for him and get the initial damage. But if he goes in, he's got to be careful. He can't look to go in right away with all these Marauders around. If he doesn't do any damage to him, they're going to be very, very, very hard to build through and walk through. As you see, the builds are going to get broken. This is bad for Wolfies. He needs to get rid of the Marauders. The shots are coming in, down to 11 HP. He's only got 2 builds remaining. Launchpad placed. He can't build anymore. Got a player right there in front of him. Sniper shot going to come out, and it does. But he goes down to a Marauder.
Vato getting picked off there, but the Marauders catching Wolfies out. No builds, no natural cover nearby. Ardent soaking most of the aggression. Him opting to go down. Ardent will clean up all of that. So good heads-up plays by Wolfies to pick up the snipe, but the Marauders ultimately enacting their revenge there. And it can be so difficult when you get caught out by them, particularly in the open. The builds that will target those and will try and take them out. You're definitely able to kind of ditch them and get rid of aggro when you're around some of the more natural cover on the map, those houses, the bridges, and the stuff that are nearby. But Vato not going to be happy about that. Was trying to get a little bit of a third-party tag there, and Wolfie's punishing him right before he goes down. He says, hey, if I'm going down, you're coming down with me, and will also deny a key elimination point that could have gone over to Ardent. So ultimately, he's going to be upset his game is over, but at least he was able to pick up a little bit. Is now back on board here with Flois, and as we can see, he's used to fast starts, placing first with 5 elims in game 1 of Heats as well. So let's see if he can turn this confidence into something more, as he is over on the northeast side of the zone with plenty of players around him. However, he has priority on the rotation, but not a ton of materials to really do it. You don't want to be forced to burn those metal and the brick here. We refer to those as the hard materials, because once they get built up, they provide that much more defense for you. However, just they're so much harder to get naturally as you move through the map that Flo is finding Cammy there, and you can see immediately he's going to head over there because he's like, hey, I need those mats. I need those refreshers. When we talk about refresher in the term, this is it, because that's going to be refreshing for him.
What a shot and a heads-up play by Flo. He desperately needed that, as well as his ammo was pretty low, too. Only 74 AR. That's not enough going into an in-game competitive Fortnite game. You definitely want to have a little bit more like Noah Riley here. Again, takes off Mr. Savage and now has the loot to show for it. The yacht coming in clutch with this loot. He's got this player down, though, with those tags. But the big shield going to be popped there. Now Noah has to be careful. He wants to go aggressive. His instinct is to push in with that crash pad and get the aggressive play. But that player back up to full HP. He's got to be careful. Shots go through the edit. Not going to connect on the shots there. Noah over the top. Shots come through. A 71 tag there for Noah. And now he's going in. Crash pad in. It doesn't matter, though. The crash pad is actually going to send him away. He's got to keep the pressure up to keep this player from popping any shields. And he's got the player back and forth, up and down, up and down. He's got the crash pad. He's going in. Shots are going to come through. The player puts the stare over the top of his head. And another good tag there. But Noah's not able to find him. Noah's not able to finish him off. This player continuously layer changing, going up and down in between the builds. And Hydro was just trying to run for their life.
Hydro trying to put as much distance as possible, and unfortunately going to go down there. Good job for Noah Riley on the chase. We talk about how important it is to resolve fights, particularly because you don't want that opponent burning those resources, because when you do take them down, they'll drop them there, and you want to get as much as possible. You can see Noah picking up all of the minis there. He's back up to 6. Good job, still has 4 crash pads. And one thing you'll note in particular when you're looking at these mid-game fights and what you should be keeping an eye on. Anytime a player has crash pads, that will enable them to push into boxes. You've seen it in 2 different ways, both from the top down, where they throw it against one of those cones because it lets them fall in. And then a perfect example, thank you, Ross Orange, for showing it right there, winning the fight against Hardfind very closely with 6 HP. That's the horizontal crash pad, where you line yourself up on the corner of the walls, you throw it against that corner, and it'll end up landing right behind you, and it pushes you forward into the box, but it won't affect the other player. So it allows you to line up your shot ahead of time, and most times it'll also put you behind them, so they're not able to play defensively, as Orange trying to play defensively here, but Bafo just comes in and says, hey, you didn't have enough time to reset and get your shields up. I will take all that loot. Thank you very much.
And that's the dangers of taking a mid-game fight, is that if you take any damage, you're going to get third-party. Players are going to recognize that shield crack sound, and they're going to move in. But on the other hand, look at Letwick. He took that fight, got out, and now is on the move. But Carrot is setting up an ambush for the shots coming through. Letwick has been cracked. Look at the box separation that he just did there from Carrot. Going to time to pasta minis. The stair with the top is not his. He does get a nice layer change coming out and above, but he doesn't have enough time to pop the big shield. He's just looking to try to pop another mini, and he does get it off. And now he's looking for a shot. He needs to put the pressure back on to Carrot, because if not, then he's just going to keep running around, and Carrot's finally going to be able to get a shot on him. And Carrot decides, you know what? Not worth my time, not worth my materials, not worth my HP. I'm going to disengage.
I'm 50-50 on that. It felt like if Carrot had kind of kept pressing, he might have been able to pick up Letwick, particularly because, look at Letwick, there are only 20 total builds coming out, but that also means if you are able to take him down, you're not going to necessarily get that much back. You'd only get the 35 total, and it's really not going to be that beneficial unless you're able to rotate cleanly off of it. Both have the crash pads, but now you can see fight going on here between Diablo and NXS Z-Andy. Z-Andy on the back foot here, and Diablo trying to push forward somebody we've seen had the capability of playing aggressively. He is above that Storm Surge threshold, so just trying to hunt this player and doing a good job of keeping Z-Andy on the back foot. Does get the cone replaced, owns both, edits back under. Z-Andy able to replace that stay there, so Diablo just going to reset for a second, make sure he's still back up at near that 100-100 threshold, and then Z-Andy going to go down. So good job making sure he picked that one up. Z-Andy was below that Storm Surge threshold. Diablo will see that coming through. The Storm Surge will take that over. So that's what we talk about right now. You can see on the right-hand side, Diablo is currently 130 damage above. Zandy was below, which means he takes that 25 damage every 10 seconds. And it also signals to Diablo, hey, I can just tag this guy up and then wait, because any damage he does to that player, as long as they go down within a minute, he will still get credit for that elimination. He will still get the point. Then he can go over and safely pick up that loot.
That is another aspect of competitive Fortnite that everyone has to think about. That Storm Surge, it plays a factor into so many of these players' games. Sometimes they forget about it because they're pumping, they're rolling, they got their mats, they got their ammo, they got their builds, they're in zone, and then they're like, wait, I didn't tag anybody this game. I got to look for tags. Frenzy Fishy on the other side, above and a good amount above. If you're about 100 to 150 above, you're looking at a good spot. As shots come through, he's going to take advantage and find swaps with one AR shot. That is what you needed. We saw Thomas HQ do that in the first game. Just find any sort of elimination that you can, far away or up close. Don't even have to risk yourself getting tagged up for it. Beautiful elimination.
Yeah, but you notice how he's doing that behind a cone and editing a single wall. That's to avoid all of those hunting rifle headshots that we've seen come out time and time again. You don't want to get a game ender looking for some of those tags to make sure you're safe. But that being said, when we talk about tags and going through, that's generally meaning you're looking for long-range shots, not with the intention of actually trying to eliminate the opponent, but just doing some damage so you're not threatened by the Storm Surge, as Flois ends Froggy and puts a prime example of why you need a cone in a window and to limit the number of angles you have, because so many of these top-level players will be carrying those weapons, particularly in EU, that is known for their snipes and hitting their shots. Well done from the game #1 winner, who's continuing to roll with the momentum here. Boxed up next to Arctic, passive over the side, as we're transitioning now into that mid-game kind of territory as players are starting to get closer and looking for priority in terms of zone number 4.
What an elimination. He needed it too. He only had 2 hunting rifle shots. That first shot needed to hit. He didn't really have a chance to follow up if it didn't. Very heads-up play by Flois. First place, taking down second place. That is, hey, that's pretty good for your mentality. Even if he goes down here and be like, hey, I took out my competition, so I know I'm pretty secure there. But we're still pretty early on into the game, so you can't really do much with it.
And it's important to note when they stress during the top of show how every single interaction matters. Right there, Flois eliminating his direct competition right now, the player who is closest to him, who's able to pressure up. That means if he's able to build up a lead now, it's going to be that much more substantial, because effectively he's eliminated one of the players who can threaten him the most, as now we're on board here with ADN. We saw him have an amazing run yesterday, pushing in. Right there, you can see the Dorito edit being taken down, and that's such a good push. Fastroki was looking to set up a crash pad there with that edited cone in his box, but ADN dropped in and then occupied the space, stuck to the AR, and then just used the weapon to close it out. Well done getting a key pick there in a mid-circle.
And he desperately needed his mats were not looking good. Still are not looking good as well. So he's going to have to find another impact elimination along the way, as we're on board here with Ardent. Again, mats are not looking good. Now, there is a player's loot there in front of him that he more likely got the elim from. He's not actually prioritizing picking it up right now. It seems like he's just looking to build and then go for the loot. Mr. X is nearby. Banshee's nearby as well. Hardest in an awkward spot. We've got Scram in this game here as well. Handy, passive, slick. A lot of players still alive. 61. When we talk about Storm Surge, this is a threshold where it's 50. 11 players need to go down. Darda makes a heads-up play to get a box, and Crash Pad's going to come through, but that's bad for him. Unless he hits the shot. Shots come through, and he does. Maestro going to go down the aggressive play, not going to be rewarded. And Ardent will be rewarded for his passiveness.
Yeah, and you can see the reason why so many players are fighting right now, both that Storm Surge and trying to get priority. We talk about 4th zone. Look in the bottom right-hand corner. Everyone is looking to box up and stake their claim on as much real estate as possible for when that half-in, half-out reveals. You don't want to be sharing a spot next to somebody as you go to rotate, and they're looking to clear out the players nearby as Ardent picks up Flois there. So 1 and 2 are down. That's going to open up the leaderboard. Tons of players will have an opportunity to charge up. Eyes are now on Hen and whether or not he can kind of extend his lead out there, as Ardent also picks up Lecce. Mongrel getting scout there in a brilliant job, because he's now cleared out all the players on this tarp in that next to half-in, half-out, the one before move moving is pulling directly over to this cluster of players. So Tayson, Benji, Keelix, Wyzip, Mr. X will all be over there sharing the half in, half out with Ardit. They all have priority on everyone else who's rotating into the zone. So they're going to be fighting among themselves to make sure they're safe and not going to get ambushed, and then swap over to what Tayson's doing now and looking to catch the players, burning their rotation, burning launch pads and crash pads, trying to get into this zone.
And this is very lucky for Tayson because, again, we stressed the amount of builds in the inventory. He only had 54. That is not where you want to be for this endgame. So he has to find an elimination to get to these moving zones effectively. He does have the 6 crash pad, but when you start to use those crash pads, you start wasting those builds as you box up, and he needs to find somebody. As shots come through, he's not going to be able to beam people out of the air just yet, as we do see Nebby unfortunately falling, but he did get that top 15 placement threshold, which is what a lot of people are playing that consistency. Hey, at least I went down inside of that. Tayson, however, is looking to get aggressive, and I believe that's on, I think this is Benji. I'm 97% sure Benji is right nearby. If Benji makes the wrong edit, he goes into a box that's not his. Tayson is going to go aggressive. You see the big shoulder's going to be popped. Edit's going to come through. No crash pad in. Shots coming through. And Benji's going to go down. Tayson going to take him down.
You called it. He was looking for it, waiting for Benji. He heard him trying to set up and get some space, knew he was pressured around the side. The horizontal crash pad entrance puts him behind Benji, cleans it up with the tactical shotgun, and well done. And Hen, the 3rd place player on the leaderboard before the last game, going on the high ground right now, has priority position with Enos and Mongrel just below him. Also Floki on the same ground, but we're going to hop on over to the Become Legends player. He's been playing so well recently, cleaning up the Cash Cup on his birthday. Had a phenomenal performance yesterday to also guarantee him spot here, and he has priority on this next zone. What that means is he's the closest to where the safe zone has to go past. So as it funnels and everyone else rotates, they have to go past Hen. You do not get to past Hen, and you notice he's built so much space around him, so he can't be shot at in return. All of these shots are completely safe, so anything he's able to convert on will turn into points for him here, as another placement point does take over. Now he's not shooting through that wall. That is just one of the graphical issues with the replay. He's picking up tags, but now you can see setting up a crash pad, going to use it to go on the rotation late, and he picked up a key elimination onto Wyzip there, as we have our top 35.
And it's such a key elimination because he gets Jules' glider gun, and now he's got free rotation everywhere. He could win this game based on that elimination. It was such an impact elimination, but he's being a little bit too greedy on that zone. He did get tagged up, but he's still good. Rotation coming in. We do see Safek going down, and rotation X Squeeze went down as well. So a lot of the big names are out of this game, but Han looking to keep his stream alive and take down one player who landed right on top of him. That was a very, very heads-up elimination onto Pablo, but he's not that healthy. He has those minis in his inventory, about 126 effective HP. He needs to find another one.
He needs to find the outside. He can't be in this cluster. It's really weird to take the grapple gun and then immediately go into the middle, because you don't really have the ability to utilize it, and that's what we're looking for, getting towards the outside of the zone so he has more options there. Anas, teammate up on the high ground there, but this is the solos competition, just playing for the same org. You have Gamers Origin, Deceptos there on the middle as we tick over top 25. Another point going through. Anas running through the high ground. Reason still in the match, and you can see Deceptos picks up Ardit there as top 20 ticks over. Another point going through, and right as I say his name, Reason ends up going down. This is looking like a Become Legends top 15 right now, as they have 3 or 4 players still up, but Deceptos trying to find the space, finding a good job, tarping his way through and making sure that he owns all of the builds on this level as we close in on top 15. Bad sniper missing out on a key placement point, and Deceptos looking to try and find a pick on this crash pad player, doing a good job to deny the rotation, finds a tag but not able to necessarily convert it. So many shots, but no elimination coming through, and he has to find that. That's such a key pickup. Inside the top 15 we go. Can he chase down this player? And he finally gets it. That snipe going down, but Hen is still up, picking up Orion as we get into our top 10.
Deceptos is going to have to make a play as it's going up a little bit of an incline. You see it. The old builds are there as well. Hen is going to fall. Slick going to fall in tandem. Top 10 placement points being missed out by both of them. That's a huge boost as well. Deceptos able to hold on. There's a player on the other side. Shots are coming through. He's getting the tags, and he does. Frenzy Fishy is going to go down. Deceptos needs to get out of zone, though. He is sitting and ticking. He doesn't have any floppers. He's looking to get in, and he does, but a shot comes through. Floki going to be the one to take him down, and now 2 eliminations here for Floki. The player right on top of him. He's got to be careful. Shots go through. Back into zone goes Floki. Ticking down very, very low. Now inside his zone, he's good to go, but this is looking really, really rough. He doesn't have floppers. Mr. X is going to go down. Stacy going to be the one to do it. He's still trying to be popped there. And look at Anas just Tyro whopping all the way up top. He's just walking over old builds. I don't know how many builds he's got left, but he may be able to win this just solely based on the fact that's going over old builds.
And the old builds giving him priority, that moving zone, we talked about it, it just randomly pulls a distance back away, which means you can continue your rotation. And on top of having the old builds, his saving grace has the mythic loadout as well. So this is so big for him as we move into the top 5, 4 players left. But Anas has complete control over this lobby. You can see Tayson as well in the middle. Scramguard and Snazy are going to round out your top 4. Who will finish it off? Will Anas continue the run of the caddy corner loot, proving it out, or can somebody from the low ground shut him down as Tayson picks up Scramguard? So each elimination, each placement here, an additional point as Tayson ends Snazy right there. But the Shockwave Launcher comes out right away and knocks him over to the zone. And Anas does get tagged, but he's able to pop the flop in the zone and then gets the follow-up tag with 6 HP to spare. Become Legends Anas from the high ground. 4 eliminations in the Victory Royale, taking game number 2.
The flop was what he needed to pop, and he did do just that. The Victory Royale going to be nice. I think may be able to move into first place after that game just on the number of points and the eliminations, but we're definitely going to need the analysts to break that one down, so we're going to send it right over to them here in a moment.
Thank you guys so much. Great cast here in game number 2 of Europe. Anas finding the Victory Royale there. Mad props to him. Now, here's the thing, though. Tayson, another big name we're used to seeing. We keep talking about the quality of players. This is someone who is coming in strong. Ends that game in 5 eliminations. Had he picked up that VR, that 4-point swing would have actually moved him higher up the leaderboard. And we'll see that as we take a look at the standings and look at who is currently holding down that number 1 spot.
Usually who ends up winning the game is always at first. That is the same story here right now. BL Anas all the way up top, Victory Royale, 7 elims, 28 points. But what happened that game was a bunch of eliminations from top players, changing the standings from 2nd all the way to 10th.
And there's BL Hen in 2nd there. Somebody definitely to keep an eye on because he placed 4th in the first game. Not necessarily the biggest boost in points this game. Other names too, Deciptos, who's the king of placing 5th place. The French legend who came out there in the Invitational starting to rise up. But then Tayson, Zeke, you mentioned him. Getting that 2nd place will boost him way up, but he could have done more. Reason still stays around the 9th place mark, but still improves at least in this game.
And there, we move on over Letwick, Scramguard, Bad Sniper, Kinzel, Mongrel, Carrot. I mean, look at all these names. Thomas HD, Floki, Frenzy Fishy. There's so much heat coming off of the grand finals right now. Every single person could walk away the victor, and especially when we're this tight, and we still have 4 games left to go, boys. Anything could still happen. There's all these guys at the top making these power moves right now.
You're saying look at the names. I'm looking at the points too. You're mentioning that it's tight. It's like a 2-point difference between everyone. They are neck and neck. Become Legend Slicks is here too. Twain's, Ardits, like all these guys are playing so well, but they're playing well while others are too, and no one can really break away. Benji, who we're used to seeing in the top 10, at 24th, and from what I'm seeing, he's having good games still. It's not enough though for that number 1 spot.
It's kind of another kind of slow start for Benji, which I think some people are maybe starting to get a little used to. He always rises at the top, but that might be a sign that it's back to, you know, the old Benji of Grand Finals, the one who does get good performances and is in the top 10, top 15, very solid out of 100 players, but not quite that win that he's looking for.
And together, guys, we got to talk about it. More of these powerful plays coming out of these impact players, making what they need to happen, really manifesting this win right here, right now.
Yeah, Grand Finals is all about power, and it comes in many different forms. We're starting off with how power struggles on early games off-spawn fights, and Noah Riley, Mr. Savage, they had a big battle down. Noah showed that he was more powerful.
And it's all because Benji scares Noah into going somewhere else, but into somebody who might end up struggling because of it. Benji, though, saw a sign of weakness, and because of that, he will pounce, try to grab more space. Kiriachi looking in the background, and Benji knows, and he will hunt. This is one of the best players at fighting in the early and mid game, and Benji is not scared whatsoever.
Yeah, power vacuum basically here over at Slurpy Swamp, and Benji gets in the box with style, breaks through, hits a big shot, and shows his power afterwards as well.
And is that show of power, is that show of confidence something that we're used to seeing out of Benji? I say yes, but it might be overconfidence as he pushes a fight against one of the best players in the world. Now we're switching over to Flois, and for him, it's a shift.
Yeah, for him, he was holding power in game number 1, continues to, dropping down Froggy, who was in second place on the leaderboards at the time, but holding power sometimes comes with a cost. He loses it over to Advise, and we see one of our new players who are in that second place slot.
Second place for Hen after a very good game number 1, and follows it up with a pretty decent game number 2, a 10th place for him, but a couple of elims to boot. And that will put him where he needs to be if he wants to grab that crown at the end of the day, the ultimate sign of power. He falls in 11th, but that's at least solid enough.
Yeah, and this is where power starts for a lot of players in this game. It was Anas who ends up winning, who had Caddy Corner and the Mythic Loot as well. The Shockwave Launcher, Kit's Charge Shotgun too, and he just made power become his tool in this endgame. He became Legend incarnate, literally just personifying the organization he's on and using this entire endgame as a playground, bouncing people up, shooting them down afterwards. Look at that two-piece right there. Anas looks so dynamic, and yes, we saw Flois with the hunting rifle, we saw him with the charge shotgun last time, but for me, it was Anas's gameplay, his creativity that really separated him from the pack and showed us his use of power.
And Anas, that's kind of what we were talking about at Caddy Corner last time. We saw Thomas there for a brief moment, but this time it goes down. Kit spawns down at the gas station, and that's where Anas is lurking. He had a good game last time in 10th place, but if you want to become a legend at the end of the day, if you want to solidify yourselves among the great, immortalize yourself, you need to have games like that. And Anas and Hen, both at the top of the leaderboards, org mates, and they're standing strong.
Both of these guys are definitely looking to break away. I mean, Anas is ahead of the game, 28 points, but Shy, is that going to hold?
Didn't hold in game number 1 with Flois. I feel like when Anas gets that top slot, he holds it completely, especially at Caddy Corner. So I feel like, yes, that's my call.
I like it. Quick and concise. With that being said, guys, let's throw it into game number 3 here in EU of the FNCS Grand Finals. Casters, we're sending it back your way to get into the action.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Bala. Insightful as always, and everyone is looking to become a legend, but right now the Become Legends players occupying first and second. And if you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Sundown, joined here by the fantastic, as always, Clay Stelling. This is match number 3, the halfway point of the EU FNCS Solos Grand Final. And if you're watching at Party Royale and you just dropped in, hit one of those telephone booths, the changing stations, make sure you get your favorite outfit on, then head on over to the main stage, catch the action out, and you can see where everyone's dropping right now.
And if you notice, the yacht only has 1 player on it, so I'm interested to see who that player is. Is it Savage? Is it Noah Riley, who came out on top? And of course, who's going to come out of Caddy Corner on top? That is always a question in all of these players' minds.
Right now you can see cutting over the top of the lake, but switching over to Anas, who's landing over towards the weather station side on Caddy. You can see looking to figure out if he's going to be able to go through, pick up any amount of that loot, drop down into this area, see what's going on. As of right now, doesn't look like he's actually going to have a contestant in, but you can see also a number of players off and over just to the southwest of him. So right now, first shot coming out, we talked about those early hunting rifle tags, but not quite going to find it again. Anas, game number 2 winner, current first place right now.
And he's in a very good spot to keep that first place, but Hin right behind him. We've got to keep our eye on that elimination feed for that come up as well. If Hin, only 3 points behind, is able to make a play, to start to make the ground up. Is Vadil going to get some nice shots there? The Chug Splashes, though, are going to get that player up. The nice edit is going to drop the player down. The edit around as well. He's got him boxed up, but the fish is going to escape as Vadil looking to crash pad on in, using the jump there. He's actually not going to go in. He's going to take the wall and the cone up top, and that was so smart to outplay Advise there.
Well done picking up Advise there. We talked about kind of the different types of crash pads and then the variations you're able to use. Him jumping up prevented him from falling in. So then when Advise went to exit, the situation got picked up, and now over to Slurpy Swamp. We watched this fight happen last time. Benji aggressively pushed Kiriachi, saying, no splitting going on here. This is my side. But Kiriachi now looking to be the predator instead of the prey and closing in on Benji as he's hitting these slurp barrels. So wants to kind of resolve this beforehand. And now box to box, how do two of the best players in the world close out this box fight? Do they look to take each other on, or are they just kind of trying to disengage the situation? Right now Benji's saying, hey, I need more mats if we're going to go toe to toe.
He disengaged perfectly, got up, and is out. I also want to point out 35 of the current players also competed in the FNCS Invitational Finals. So they've been here before. They've been in this grand finals. They know what to do, especially these two players on the screen right now. As Kiriachi is going to take some damage there from Benji, who is keeping that pressure up with that rare tactical shotgun, and now looking to find a creative way inside. Kiriachi actually went up and around. The shots going through, exchanging high ground and exchanging shots. As Benji takes a nice tag there on the Kiriachi. He still has yet to take any damage himself. Kiriachi is still pushing. This is exactly what we expect from him. And Benji baiting him to drop down. Kiriachi was ready. The back and forth going in favor of Benji right now. Kiriachi keeping the pressure up. Benji going to get tagged up a lot there because he couldn't build the floor. He's trying to pickaxe for that code as the edits come through. Benji going through old builds. This is really good, but once you reset that metal, it's very, very weak and it's easy to hit. But he's put some distance in between him, Kiriachi, and Dual Snipe.
I was about to say, Dual Snipe, hearing the action going on, wants to take a peek inside, but he very well knows who's there, and I'm not sure you want to jump on into that pond. Don't want to get boxed like a fish between those two. It's more like getting boxed between two sharks. A rock at a hard place. You pick which one and who's who, because Benji, right now, just again, looks like he's done enough to fend off Kiriachi. You say, how long are we going to do this for? How long are we going to burn mats and just sit here and force each other back? Because both of these players are good enough to hold the other off, or at least make them pay for it if you don't get that initial ambush off of the start, which is why you now see Kiriachi kind of backing up a little bit, making sure he gets some mats before heading back in towards Benji again, looking to potentially respark this engagement.
And I'm not surprised from Kiriachi. He is very, very aggressive, but we'll have to see if that turns out in any of their favors. As Seventor now being aggressive onto Diablo. Diablo going to get the initial shots there, and now Seventor can disengage if they want to, but on the edge of zone, really hard to disengage because you're trying to run away, then you're just going to get shot in the back, and it's just unfortunate there. So box to box, diagonal to diagonal, Diablo and Seventor looking to do a little peanut butter edit, look to get that jump shot there. Seventor looking to get any sort of wall take back, and he does, but Diablo ready for it. The shot comes through, the quick reset there, going to get the tag in favor of Seventor, but still not as much HP there as Diablo. His shots are still coming through. He does pop a mini. Continued back and forth over these peanut butter edits. That's that triangle edit that you see as he goes in. He goes aggressive with that crash pad, but Diablo was ready for it. Did you see how many edits he had, how many space he had in between him and Seventor? He was predicting that perfectly, but Seventor's ready for the edit. He's ready for Diablo popping up, and he said, you know what? I'll bait the heal out, but I'm going to get that elimination.
Yeah, and a really good job from Seventor there, baiting Diablo into something that he had owned and then committed him to the fight, caught him with the builds out, and then following up with the tactical shotgun. And it's really fruitful to resolve that fight because there was a player boxed up right on the edge of zone who would have been able to rain shots down. And again, if you are just joining that, there's the format on the right-hand side. You can see first round of placement points coming through, top 75, next one at top 50. Then it's every 10 players to fall until we reach top 25. Then it's every 5 players until you're into the top 3. So definitely want to be making those end games, but also 1 point per each elimination, as Carrot will pick up Phoenix there. Will also get a point, and that's his second of a match.
And he may have taken coolest out of his name, but right now he's the coolest of the authority, picking that elimination up. He's been very, very good. He actually, I believe, one of the players that came through the open track of the FNCS Invitationals. That happened a couple months ago, but still maintaining prowess over the authority here. He was here back when it was the agency, so Dominant performance from Carrot. He's also got the zone there as well. You see him already building up and refarming. In Misty Meadows, however, Ardent looking to set up an ambush like we've talked about, hiding in this little upgrade room. He can catch anybody waiting to upgrade their loot. He's got a great charge to do it with the legendary at that. And look, somebody is taking the bait. They are coming into the house. The question is, will they open it? He set a trap up perfectly. He set a trap up, but he put a wall. Griff put a wall there. The peppers, the shields, everything being popped there. Ardent, though, not going to be able to spring the trap as Griff was ready for it. And Griff turns the tide.
Sometimes you set the trap and the bait, but turns out you are the bait and you don't reel in what you want. That's what we talked about. He was looking for a slurp fish and instead pulled one of the loot sharks there. Griff turning it around after a rough game number 2, getting eliminated pretty much basically off drop. Ardent trying to spring a little bit of an ambush there, but instead going down. So good job on Griff, who we saw also had a very, very, very impressive run in order to make the qualifier here, but now on board with E11's Tayson, a player who we saw be super successful in the heats yesterday. The problem is he hasn't necessarily really converted it today. We've consistently seen him towards the top. He was actually 7th coming in, so not doing too bad today, but probably also a little bit outside in terms of the placement that he would be wanting, averaging a top 27 placement and 5 elims total across the 2 games.
And I think that may be due to the amount of loot that he's getting. He isn't steamy with 2 other players. It's really, really hard to find all that loot. And you see it in his inventory right now. He does have crash pads, but that common AR is not going to net you a lot of eliminations. He's going to have to find a way to upgrade that, whether that be through an impact elimination or finding one naturally. As it seems like this is the open side of zone, and that meaning there's not that many people all around him. He's got a little space to work with there. Someone who doesn't have that much space is there's a lot of players nearby. Bad Sniper. He does have 15 points, a decent first couple of games, but not where he wants to be. There is a player nearby. He's got to be careful with the snipe, and if you don't have it, he's going to turn the beams back onto him, but not going to hit it. He is only 22 above Storm Surge, and that is nowhere near safe, as you see it already ticking down to 19.
Yeah, and that Storm Surge threshold on the right side of your screen there. The number for zone number 3 is 70, so currently 17 players have to go down. Bad Sniper will be starting to look for tags here, but also doesn't necessarily want to overbuild himself too much because he doesn't have a ton of materials and he is out in the open. So if he has a lot of players who opt to end up spamming towards him, it can be difficult. And he's not in the safe zone yet, and now only 4 above. You talked about how kind of that threshold just keeps on ticking. So he's trying to trade some tags out, get himself above. We have Ovation Arion and Smudge closing in on him, as well as 2 players already in the zone and coming back, and this is going to be key. And he got it! Huge tags and the elim coming on to Meta Shrimsy. Super unfortunate, using the crash pads desperately trying to get in zone, but even with those tags, only 62 above.
And you can tell he's not happy with it. He's already looking to move into zone and set up for another couple tags because he's going to need it. The 62 above just turned to 60 above, and then it's going to turn to 52 above. And you're going to start trickling down that leaderboard as everybody near you looks to get eliminations. But Bad Sniper maybe looking to set up an ambush here onto Kezix. Will be a snipe nearby Skype there as well. As a sniper shot is going to ring there. Not actually going to connect onto anybody, but Snipe looking to be aggressive on his tags. Again, is above Storm Surge, but not by much, as we see Lecce take down Supremacy's limit there. Snipe, though, has a very good position in zone. He can rotate to his right or his northeast there to really make a play on that side of zone. His shots are going to come through. He heard that sniper shot come through, and that player got tagged up by everybody, and Ovation's Arion is going to fall down.
To a single shot going through there, and we talk about it, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and it's sometimes worth just throwing the AR bullets over, both for Storm Surge tags, but you might get a little bit of that RNG on your side and pick up the elimination. Somebody else did most of the work, the hunting rifle shot coming through, but he'll be the benefactor there as Kinzel now is going to put some pressure here onto Flopper Michael. Again, a number of players still under that Storm Surge tag, so you can expect the passive players to push through. Storm Surge will impact the players who have done the least amount of damage to opponents, but Flopper Michael punishing Kinzel there, who was under that pressure, as 4 more players will need to go down before it turns off. Controller 007 picks up Maestro. Gambit's Moaka also goes down, but you can see Flopper Michael also under pressure here. He was the player who had the brilliant crash pad play yesterday. Can he set up another one here and end up converting, as now we're going to swing on over to Anas, get a nice little replay, see what's going on here. Chaining the crash pads, landing directly on top of the player and catching him over on the side. Spen, what are you doing? Cover your back, man. You can't be doing that on the edge of the zone. But Anas pushing himself further out towards the lead. Don't forget, he was in first place with 28 points, now sitting on 30, courtesy of the elimination and the first placement threshold.
Very great play from Anas to realize that he was being ambushed here as well. Very quickly got out of the situation. Now Andy looking to be aggressive and looking to push. The shots are still coming through. Anas continues his dominant solo performance. He plays 16 in the solos Evans CS Invitational and 9th in DreamHack. And he's recently been turning online, you know, in these last couple of months. It's been really great to see him come into someone who could become a legend, especially after being picked up by that organization. With this disengage, though, it nets him a lot. He's able to refarm some of this metal as well if he wanted to hit that fence there. Refarm a lot of this wood as well. Benji picking up an elimination is good for him. But Anas, while he was in a good spot, now he's getting pinched by these players.
And I believe he also had a pretty solid performance at DreamHack Anaheim, flying out to that land and making it to the grand final there, but now hopping on board. Another player who was there, Bad Sniper, though, under pressure from Atlantis' Lecce, trying to get in the box. Bad Sniper disengaging, does have plenty of shields and floppers if he can make the space. However, now in the zone, and that's a 2-tick zone that as soon as it passes over and it closes, it's going to go to a 5-tick zone. So Bad Sniper is going to have a lot of the pressure here in terms of having the chug splashes and having the floppers compared to Lecce. Don't know his loadout, but doubt he has as much heals as that, and going to be punished there. Yep, no additional white heals coming out, so the siphon really beneficial for Bad Sniper there, and he has a relatively clear path to the zone now. You can see on that bottom right-hand corner, only 1 or 2 players who are going to be in his way.
And that's always unfortunate, is getting eliminated in zone as you're just trying to rotate through. As Anas doing the same. He's got white heals, but it's only in bandages, and he is popping them this time, but he's got to be careful. This elimination will net him so much. It'll give them loot, and if that player has any white heals as well, it'll be so good. As Andy is staying more healthy than Anas, the zone, once it closes, like you said, 5-tick, and now it goes down. Shots are going through between each other, and Andy's got that flopper. He's going to be able just to outlive Anas here unless Anas makes a play, but no, Anas going down, and that's number 1 out of the game.
Anas being taken out there, the pressure from the storm, the 5-tick zone. Andy eating all the cabbages, knows exactly where they went, directly into his stomach there. Also has the floppers and the bandages as well. So I'm actually going to argue that he should have used the bandages there and allowed the cabbages to tick himself over the top, but instead going to pop that flopper, going to limit some of his mid-game and later game options there, but opting for safety is now swing on board with reason. Relatively solid performance, was in 9th coming into this game, currently sitting on 18 points, and has a decent loadout for the end game. However, a long rotation he's going to have to make here, Clay.
And he has no crash pads and only 1 pepper. He's going to have to get creative with it, whether it be third-partying this fight. We did see Scram fall. Rezon just going to hop in, and that's going to be PCH, who is not expecting it. You have to reset those walls. You cannot afford to make those mistakes right now.
This is grand finals in Europe, the most played in region, arguably the most aggressive and most talented region as well. If you are able to convert on elimination, please do everything possible and make sure you're safe. It's all about covering yourself up afterward and allowing yourself to be in a position to continue on in the game, and Reason is so good at capitalizing on others' mistakes. Now notice, built up on the high ground, use those hard materials to make sure he's established and safe, but for Strokey, trying to encroach a little bit on this real estate, and that's the fights you're gonna see. Reason opting to drop down and just return to his safety as everyone else is gonna rotate into the zone. This is zone number 4, so priority positioning is going to be towards the outside. We're going to be keeping an eye on who ends up going towards high ground and then who is slaying out on that low ground.
Easy able to make it here. Another player able to make it into this end game is going to be Savage. And with that off-spawn elimination on the Noah Riley, I'm assuming with that elimination there, Noah Riley went down early. It's got to be Mr. Savage taking him down. But as you see, that is coming through. Nice and pick up there by Savage, but someone trying to capitalize on him. Shots coming through. He's going to pick up a double. Heatsy going to go down. Queasy going to go down. The pressure's not done yet. The Crash Pad's coming in, and the Crash Pad master, Mr. Savage, going to be able to pick some up there. And he's ready to fight. He's ready to go aggressive, but someone on top of him, going to be bad sniper there, trying to box the box. Steady there as well. Savage really needs to make a play to get out of this. Going up into an old build will get him out for now. And what a phenomenal heads-up play. That's what you do when you get elimination. You realize there's more players nearby you, and you take them out as well.
And Exqueezy picking up an elim there. I believe that was on the Helix, but we have our top 50. So Storm Surge turning back off, second placement point going over. And don't forget, this is game number 3, so we're about to be at the midway point. This is a fantastic opportunity with a NOS down for somebody else to unseat him and become that front runner. And we talk so much about momentum and whether or not you can hang on and whether or not you can get running. And Froggy, a player who thrives on momentum, finding a key elim there on the backside of the zone, using the launch pad, then getting in on the priority. Half in, half out, now closing in. After this, it will be all moving zones. So it's all about making sure you're safe, finding rotations, figuring out whether or not you're able to get to that next zone, and then trying to punish players around you who aren't doing it as good as you.
Lewick looking to capitalize on someone not paying attention to their wall. You see inside the cone, just sitting there waiting. He could crash pad it. We've seen it before. We saw it go against Benji. There's Hidden. He's going to fall as well. Hidden goes down. What a big elimination there. Another player near the top of the leaderboard going down. Safik falling as well. Lewick is dropping down, though. He knows there's players riding below him, and he wants a piece of the action because he's only got 53 builds. He definitely needs to find something. His ammo lacking as well. 5 shots with that charged shotgun is going to go through in an instant in this end game, so he has to pick up an elimination. He also does not have priority on rotation as it's pulling away from him. Poor Crash Pads in his inventory will allow him to rotate, but not as effectively some of these other players, and he set this trap. He's waiting for this player to just make the wrong edit and go out, but I doubt that they're going to fall for it.
Well, he's waiting. He does have priority on the zone. There's a player right next to his box. I wasn't sure if that player was on the cone. He finds the 83 tag and then follows up right away. ADN going down in 41st, misses the placement point, so a huge pick going right there. Mr. Savage still in the lobby as well. We're into the moving circles. That's the late game. You're going to start seeing players burning utility, using all their builds, just trying to get to that next safe zone and avoid fire from their opponents. But you also have to watch out for those sharks and those aggressive players, the playmakers, and the ones who are going to be the ones driving the action as we're on board here with Dual Media Snipe currently below the threshold for the Storm Surge, but that should turn off shortly here. Only 7 players need to fall. Dual Media Snipe will add into it right now, pushing himself above by taking out Griff and potentially finding a nice little upgrade there in terms of his. Yep, he will. He will get the legendary shotgun in there as well. And we're closing in on top 30 as 7-Tor picks up Nate.
And with Snipe's inventory, he has 7 crash pads. This is what you want in this meta. You want to have as many crash pads as you can. As bad Sniper is going to be caught trying to take a shield. Bongo's in this game. Xweeze is in this game. Lewick is in this game as well. We have yet to see Savage go down. Flo is in this game here. Rifla as well. 2 eliminations, 79 builds. We'll see if he's going to be able to get any more.
Deceptos is also still up. We saw him there on the wide. That was the player who was in 3rd. He should be able to push up as every 5 players will be a placement point. Reason gets ticked over by Frenzy Fishy. Orange takes out Cartoon. 7-Tor gets Sebi, closing in on top 20. That's another point going over as now Rifla looking to add his name to that list of the Become Legends players pushing their way up the leaderboard. But Deceptos picks up Wanloss and Savage picks up Z Andy. So still a who's who of top players left, but that's everyone in the lobby as Thomas HC gets another one. Mongrel picks up an Elam and Rifla ends Mr. X's run. Skype also getting orange. 2 more players will need to drop before we close in on that top 10 as 7-Tor also gets Mongo, but the question is, who's on the high ground and is there caddy loot? And right as I say that, Thomas HD with that mythic shockwave launcher. Can we make it? 3 out of 3. Rifla though, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Dual Media Snipe, top right-hand. 5 elims for Snipe, 3 for Rifla. Thomas on the high ground and the wide on your left.
And Thomas using it so well, but Rifla is doing just as well as he's being aggressive there on to players of leave. That's going to be a squeeze in the box as he is going to get the elimination there. Thomas may have the high ground right now, but Rifla is putting on a show. Snipe as well, 5 eliminations. Lewick going to get taken down there by Fadil. I'm going to take down another one as they're going up the mountain. He's reloading that shotgun because he's going to need it as crash pads going through. 6 eliminations there for him, 4 for Rifla in the bottom right. Thomas still on the high ground. We're going up a mountain. Keen needs to get up. So does Skype, very low HP. Skype's out of builds as well. He's more likely going to tick over to the zone as well as Keen Rifle. Very, very healthy. Crash pad up for high ground. Thomas HD gonna take it for now. Domina Snipe, though, being aggressive. He's going for it. He does not secure it. Thomas HD in zone. Not as healthy as Domina Snipe now. Rifle with the RPG, trying to throw it down. Shots coming on through. Chaos. Pain gonna go down. Sky gonna be the one to do it, so he stayed on through the mountain. The HP wasn't enough, but Snipe with 6 eliminations, player right on the edge of his box. He's gonna take down Skype, and now Snipe versus Thomas versus Rifle. There's RPG's gonna go through. You may have Kid Shockwave Launcher, but I've got a shotgun for you, says Rifle, as he takes him down. 5 eliminations. Rifle versus Dual Media Snipe on the low ground. RPG, Kid Shockwave Launcher as well. He's got too many things to reload. Will it be enough? Will he be able to do it? Dual Media Snipe in a bad spot, though. Does he have floppers? Does he have anything to make it work? Does he have any builds? Shots go through. Does that build dropping down? Shockwave's not going to be a factor here. RPG going to be used. Rifle concerned on only using that. And I think this may be the key to picking up the victory royale. A lot of builds remaining here for him. This is the game. Snipe is running out. RPG going down. That should be the shot, and it is. He gets the tag, drops down, comes through, and shotgun for the victory royale.
And brilliant decision from Rifle, opting to use the actual rocket launcher instead of that mythic shockwave launcher because the zone pulled back over old builds. He needed to destroy them. If you're covered, you're not going to be able to get through. So rather than wasting the rocket ammo, uses the destructive potential, secures the victory royale, and he says to his org mates, it's not about you right now, it's about me. All sees this opportunity. 3 games down, 3 games left. Zeke, Bala, Shio, please let us know what's going on because this is so tense at the top. This is absurd.
It is absolutely tense at the top. I mean, EU is firing on all cylinders today, and it is an all-out battle at the top. We have to take a look at the standings. Now, we know coming into this game, Anas was holding that #1 spot. But the question becomes, how many points has he racked up in that last game? And does he still hold that #1 spot?
I think it's going to be a dead heat at the top. I mean, it's neck and neck for so many different people because we've seen this kind of bounce all around. Everybody wants to be involved in this race.
And Deceptos is the one who's all the way in the lead in first place, 32 points, 9 eliminations, and he's playing so well that he doesn't even need a victory royale.
No, he doesn't. Not at all. Flois is up there. He kind of had that first moment, that game 1 win. Anas will clap back. And then Rifle, it's kind of in order there. But all the players who won the games are literally tied up at 30 points. It's all about elims. There's even a further tie for Anas and Rifle.
Yeah, things are going so fast, even past that, from 6th to 10th. Rezon is still holding on to his spot. Froggy, who was 2nd, is now in 9th, but Thomas HD, Letwick, these legend status names are just doing everything they can. It is not enough to keep up with the top 5.
And Rifle is showing he belongs in that top 10, right? Coming off his first game, an 11th place with his 2 eliminations. Second game, 73rd place, and now the victory out with 6 eliminations. These are the swings we need to see if people want that #1 spot.
And there are swings happening. There might not all be seen because you can see it. Vidil in 19th place, he just had a very significant game. Look at the elims for him. He's actually tied up with those players up at the top of the leaderboards in terms of elims. He just needs to convert on some of these other games to make it really count.
Yeah, everyone past the top 10 are still hungry, and if they can't make these end games, just look at the elims for everyone. Carrot, Squeeze, AR Baffo, they're past 5. They're fighting in that mid game, in the early game, doing whatever they can to get points and stay relevant after game 3 in this competition.
Guys, we are off to the races. We are halfway through this sprint, and we can see the finish line there. The question is, who will cross first?
The blocks are off. The starting blocks are completely off. These guys are off to the races, like you said. And we're kind of trying to see who's going to catch up when we get to the finish line. We're basically halfway there. And at this point, just trying to extend the lead until we get towards those final games and start dashing towards the win.
You got to pace yourself, though, right? We've seen it in end games. We've seen it on the leaderboards. These guys who are coming up on top to start with are now not being able to hold on to the first place slot. And it's about first place, Zeke.
Man, there's only one Axe of Champions to go around. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, as you mentioned, Ball, that we did miss out of this last game. You got to break it down for us, man.
That we do. There are so many things for these guys doing. It's kind of a freestyle on some attempts. Snipe for him. Long range charge shotgun shots on players like Bad Sniper, who started the day off so strong, but Snipe will start to rise. And there's another one. He's just looking through these small peak boxes, just the space in the end game to build up the box and get more of these. Every time you look out, there's so many people fighting to try to stay alive.
Yeah, you mentioned Vidil, who was very much alive in that last game, getting a record amount of 5 eliminations so far in his run in these grand finals. After that, still looking for more for everyone who was in this foot race. It was intense. They wanted to have a leg in the competition.
And we said it. Things that were missed. 7 Tor goes off on a spree, back-to-back-to-back elims, and he does it so well. There are so many people here in his lane, but for most of them, it's a false start in this endgame.
Yeah, he was sticking beside that storm so much, looking for shots from box to box, had the AR to clear out walls. After that, got into boxes himself. If he couldn't get things from range, he was right up in your face and got elims on players like Mr. Savage. Moved past that, though, and still played a phenomenal game, ending somewhere near top 15.
But there's no signs of anybody lapping anyone else, except for maybe the Become Legends guys. There's so many of these names starting to push up towards the top, and look at that back-to-back. 2 players looking to lobby focus on the same person, and it works out for one, but then the player who he actually had taken a little bit from ends up getting put down. That was Snazy too.
Yeah, it was a rough run for Rifle here. Just look at all the things he had to overcome. Box to box while getting third party, still got the elimination down, got to hold down the wall, and the coolest RPG shot after this awesome elimination on the Thomas HD I've ever seen. Clay was saying it was hard to actually get to this reloads down, get these power weapons situated, but he shoots an RPG, catches himself with a waterfall, and then connects with a drop down charge pump. What a play.
What a shot at the end. That is ridiculous. We've seen that a number of times from the Caddy launcher players. Kit Shockwave launcher is so good, but in that case, he doesn't opt to use it at all, just relies on his pure instincts.
Dude, that's all it takes sometimes. Sundown likes to say it best. Some days you just have to make sure you can hit your shots better than someone else. And for Rifle, that's what we're seeing. He's like, hey, big time to make the moves. It's happening now. Now, guys, as the competition does heat up, we need to cool down. We have 3 games left before we make an FNCS champion. But with that being said, we're going to step away. When we return, we'll have the conclusion from Europe. See you guys in 5. Hello and welcome back to continued coverage of the FNCS Grand Finals. I'm your host, Zeke, joining us here on the